All right, let's celebrate. Welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Badge. I'm your host from Talent Development and Learning, Steve Bechto. I'm joined by my team backstage, as always, Alyssa G and Andrea, Jessica Rubin, and Madison Irving. They're making sure our group of about 20 or so celebrants are backstage ready to be honored today. And as our audience is filling in, I want to remind everyone what Beyond the Badge is all about. You might be a friend, a family member, a colleague of someone being honored today, and you're seeing Beyond the Badge for the first time. Well, Beyond the Badge was created to celebrate those individuals and teams who are recognized on the System Daily Huddle. Now, what that is, in healthcare, there are huddles all over the place. It's a really effective and incredible way to keep communication open, ensure we provide exceptional, high-quality, safe care to all of our patients. And they go from small department huddles and nursing huddles and hospital huddles, and then all the way up to the biggest one, the System Daily Huddle, where our executive leadership from all of our hospitals, our ambulatory practices, service lines come together to ensure everyone at Mount Sinai has an effective, safe, high-quality day. But in this System Daily Huddle, there's a rotation of senior leadership who get their one chance to share a recognition story. They know it's their day. They say, oh, it's my turn. I get to share a recognition story. And the people we're honoring today are the people who in March were recognized on that System Daily Huddle. They're the one that day out of the 42,000 employees we have at Mount Sinai whose story brought inspiration and emotion to a leader who said, this is the story I want to share. Sometimes they're from patient letters, sometimes they're from exceptional peer-to-peer star recognitions, and sometimes they're just incredible moments that happened in the life of a health system that they said, I've got to share this story. And I cannot wait to share these stories with you. I know my colleagues backstage are going to drop a program for you so you can follow along as we go. Not everyone could make it. It is a health system. Some people couldn't step away from some of their patient care duties or make it here today. We've shared those stories in that program, so there's some additional reading you can do to hear some more. But I'm really looking forward to honoring this group here today. Now, you have a role in it. That chat is open. Make sure you're sharing your chat with everyone. And add your voice to these moments, particularly if you're here to celebrate a colleague, a friend, a family member. I see emoticons going already. Use those reaction buttons, but they're only going to have a few minutes each on stage. So make sure you're adding to their recognition story and sharing your own praise and applause, and do that freely for every wonderful celebrant you'll meet today. I also know out in our audience is always a number of the senior leaders who do the presenting on the huddle. They come back to see these stories and meet the people behind the stories and watch those shared. So I want to thank all of our leadership team who are here watching, again, another episode of Beyond the Badge. And one I'd love to turn to right away, we've asked him to come backstage and come on screen and chat, is Dr. Sharish Huprakar. He's our Chief Medical Officer for Mount Sinai Hospital. Sharish, I know you do the presenting for Mount Sinai Hospital on the huddle, right? I'd love to turn it to you to welcome this audience and talk about that experience.
Thank you, Steve. The opportunity to give some remarks. This is a wonderful event, and as Steve said, I have the privilege of once a month celebrating one of the Mount Sinai Hospital employees, and I also have the privilege of listening to all of the other employees across the health system who are celebrated every single day by leaders on the System Daily Huddle. But I think it's amazing that we don't stop there. We take it a step further and we bring everyone together to hear the stories, celebrate the employees together as a group, and recognize the great work that is done across the health system. So I want to thank everyone who's joined today to hear these stories. We have amazing employees, and it's one of the most important things we do to celebrate them as we recognize the amazing talents of everyone you're going to as they embrace the core values of the Mount Sinai Health System. So again, thank you so much for including me today, Steve.
Thank you so much. And I know I've talked to many leaders like you who just love this moment in the huddles. It brings this joy every single day. And it's been running for a couple of years now because it's so appreciated and enjoyed by our senior leaders. So thank you so much for setting us off on a great note, Dr. Huprakar. Stick back. I know you're going to enjoy hearing these stories once again. I also see Erica Rubenstein just commented in the chat. I want to remind everyone, these stories are so related to the great work being done around our patient experience. And many of you are recognized for the incredible impact you have on the patient experience. Check out Erica's forum. There's the patient experience forum is later today at 2:00. We'll make sure that link gets out there. More great ways to celebrate the patient experience during Patient Experience Week. And we're going to start right there. As we go into our stories, we start with letters and appreciation from patients that inspired these recognition moments. Now I'm going to invite one at a time the celebrants up, and the people reading the stories are our committee members from our Mount Sinai Spotlight Committee. These are the people often in patient experience roles who also are so committed to the employee experience, and they do a lot of work on employee engagement, recognition, and appreciation. So that's what I'm going to call up to read our stories. I want to jump right into it, and we're going to start by these appreciation by patient stories with the network practices. We have Brandon Cuck, who was recognized by the Network Patient Support Center leadership. And I'm going to have my colleague, Rebecca Asmussen, come on up and read this story. Let's bring Brandon up.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Hey, Brandon. I'm so excited to kick things off today. Brandon Cuck's compassion, empathy, and continual drive to go above and beyond for our patients is extraordinary. In just the past month, he received 4 patient shout outs with comments such as, I want to compliment Brandon's thoroughness, caring, and professionalism in my conversation with him today. I have spoken with him numerous times and he is always on point, pleasant, and a pleasure to work with. Another said, Brandon was very kind and empathetic, even as I was in terrible pain and crying on the call. I have run call centers before, and I know a good employee when I hear one. Brandon is a star. Brandon says his foremost goal in healthcare is to help our patients and spread some kindness in the world, and we're so fortunate that he is able to spread that kindness and positivity to all he comes in contact with. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Rebecca. So Brandon, I love this. It's multiple patient letters and comments about you. And then even your leadership knows your sense of purpose to say that you have this intent to spread some kindness in the world. I'd love to turn it to you and hear a little bit more. How do you lead with kindness and empathy in all of your patient interactions?
So when I started working for Mount Sinai a year ago, I started with our 61 Southern Boulevard cardiology offices at the front desk. And I started not long after my mom had had her first heart attack. And when she was sick, I was petrified. I was scared at the hospital. I was scared when I'd go home. But the physicians, the nurses, and the front desk staff, they guided my family through such a dark time. And a year later, my mom is doing great. So starting in cardiology right after was an amazing opportunity to give back to people who were vulnerable, just the way my family was. So I try to treat every patient the way I want my mom to be treated. And I try to always keep in mind that all of us, every single employee here with Mount Sinai is a patient too, and we're a patient somewhere else. So we should treat others the way we want our families treated. And I've tried to keep that mentality, not just with the front desk, but with the access center to try and help our most vulnerable populations.
Well, Brandon, hearing that response, I have to agree with your patients that say you're a star and they can recognize it. Having that sense of purpose and heart and be able to intentionally bring that to every interaction, and like you said, to both patients and to employees, is remarkable. I love your comments. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you.
Congrats, Brandon. It's so great to celebrate you today.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move up next to Mount Sinai West Ambulatory. Another patient wrote in to compliment Melissa Nurse. So let's bring Melissa up and we'll go to my colleague Andres Morera at West. Again, this was the ambulatory leadership that recognized Melissa Nurse.
Thanks so much, Steve, and happy Patient Experience Week, everyone. So recently, a patient arrived for her scheduled appointment at Mount Sinai West's Department of Radiation Oncology and asked to speak with a manager. The patient wanted to share that Melissa Nurse was helpful, patient, and kind during a time when she was very upset, and the attention and understanding Melissa showed helped calm her nerves and emotions. She went on to say how grateful she was and that she feels fortunate to have encountered such a wonderful person during this most difficult time. Melissa is reliable, compassionate, and always willing to go above and beyond to help her team and patients. She turned a bad day into a good day by simply listening and providing support. We are extraordinarily grateful to have her in our health system and part of our ambulatory care team at the Mount Sinai West Radiation Oncology. Congratulations, Melissa.
Thank you. I love the specific detail that this patient put in there, that of what it was that turned a bad day into a good day. And again, I heard the same comments as we had for Brandon. Empathy and kindness came out again. And Melissa, I'd love to hear your approach to providing exceptional experiences around empathy and kindness.
Okay, so basically, I just first by saying that you just listen to patients. And if I came in and I was having a bad day, I would just want somebody just to listen. And the key word is just listen. And the fact that I took my time to hear her out, and I felt really bad of the situation she went through. And I just put myself in her shoes, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna see what's the best way I can help her. And she asked for my manager, and I said, hold on a second. I think she stepped out, but I'm gonna make sure you speak to her. And the minute my manager walked in, I escorted her straight to the office. So, and she was crying too. So it made me even more sad to know. And she was so happy by the time she left the office, which made me feel much better. That was good.
I can't think of a better example for Patient Experience Week than how the service recovered to take this bad day into a good day and to give us that lesson of how it starts with listening and real actual listening and what that means.
Yeah, because I always want somebody to listen to me. So I was like, let me just hear her out. I didn't even speak. I literally waited till she was done everything she was saying.
And what an impact that can make. Excellent teaching moment for us all. Thank you so much, Melissa. Wonderful, wonderful response and story.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Andres. We'll be back to you with some more stories from Mount Sinai West a little later on. I'm going to have one more from patients to share, and that is Suhana Chowdhury from the FPA Access Center. We're going to have Sadika Horn come on up and read this one. Suhana doesn't have video capability. She's listening in. She's going to respond. But Sadika, why don't you take the story?
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone, and happy Patient Experience Week. I'm honored today to recognize Suhana, who's part of the Patient Referral Service. So here we go. Suhana Chowdhury is a remarkable scheduling coordinator on the Patient Referral Service team, where she consistently demonstrates a professional demeanor, helpfulness, attentiveness to our patients. When a healthcare proxy called on behalf of a patient to schedule a COVID test, Suhana immediately took charge of the situation. She actively listened throughout the call, ensuring the caller that the request would be resolved and secured a timely appointment. Suhana creates such memorable, satisfactory experiences that the caller took a moment to say, I really appreciate your help and speed, and thank you for your excellent customer service. Thank you, Suhana, for demonstrating genuine care and helping our patients navigate the Mount Sinai Health System.
Thank you so much, Suhana. I know you're listening in. I'd love to hear you speak to, when a patient writes and they thank you for your excellent customer service. What do you think it is specifically that you do that they're probably commenting on, that you try to bring to every experience to make it an excellent one, and that you feel your patients really notice and appreciate? And let's make sure we got your mic. There we go, Suhana.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm really honored to be a part of this. So yes, prior to joining Mount Sinai Hospital, I was a contact tracer during the pandemic for COVID patients. Having picking up, we would have about 50 to 60 calls per day. And it was very important to have an effective communication and a friendly demeanor to basically establish trust with our patients. So as a scheduling coordinator for the patient referral services, we are kind of the first segue. So, we're listening on to what they may be going through, whether it's a happy occasion, whether it's a sad occasion. So it's very important, like everyone said, to listen to their call. With my previous experience as a contact tracer, what I noticed was that it's every call is different. So it's very, very important to hear each and every patient's story and their background. Maybe you can relate to them, maybe you can't. So you can show empathy, which is very important for every call that we receive in our department.
Thank you, Suhana. Another excellent lesson on Patient Experience Week. That it's not just the listening, but you're listening with the intent to understand that specific individual, that your approach will be different based on what you take in and what you listen and learn about that person's as a unique individual. And then you apply that into giving them an excellent experience. And that is what drives an excellent experience. Really wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Suhana. And that wraps up our patient experience stories that are here. But in our digital program, we'll put it out there again. There were a couple who couldn't make it. You can read 2 more additional patient appreciation stories in the program. They're at the bottom of that program. We had the network practices had a letter praising Dr. Brian Strizik, who's seeing patients at the Greenlaw practices today and isn't able to attend. And another at New York Eye and Ear Infirmary, Dr. John Sutera, where the patient writing in about how he's the reason that they're alive today. So you can check out those stories right in our digital program. But next up, we're going to go on to our next section, which is called Stories of Excellence. These are these one-time remarkable events. And let me tell you, this episode is loaded. I've never seen this many that fit into these like incredible stories that we put into our Stories of Excellence section. So we've got a lot of great stories to go here. I know we're going to go out of order of the program a little bit. Andres, I'm going to bring you on back up. Geraldo Vasquez in your program, he's working in the emergency department. He needs to get back to patients there. So we want to go straight to his story. And then we'll go back to the beginning. Geraldo, I also don't believe has video capabilities where he is by the ED, but let's read the story and see if we can get a comment. Andres, are you ready? Oh, there's Geraldo. Excellent. We got you.
Yes, able to join us. So really excited to recognize Geraldo. So special procedures technologist Geraldo Vasquez always prioritizes patient safety. Recently, while working in the emergency room CT area, Geraldo was introduced to a patient who was scheduled to have a CT scan. At one point during the study, the patient mentioned his desire to end his life, yet when reviewing the patient's chart, he noted that there was no history of suicide or self-harm. Without hesitation, Geraldo immediately informed the charge nurse of the patient's intentions. He kept the patient in the ERCT until the one-on-one came over, and at that point, Geraldo released the patient to transport to go back to the emergency department. Geraldo always displays outstanding critical thinking skills, diligence, and attentiveness, which were on full display during his interactions with this patient. Please join us in expressing our sincere gratitude and congratulations to Geraldo for his exceptional service.
Yeah, thank you, Andres. Geraldo, this story started by talking about you're always committing to safety. And I don't know if you'd like to address this story and how your safety kind of alert went off or just your everyday approach to safety, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and comment there on your commitment to safety.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very honored to be here. Thank you very much. When patient safety, we're always on patient safety as an imaging technologist. We look for things like labs, make sure kidney functions are good, patients are not pregnant. We make sure patients never had an allergic reaction to the contrast. In this role, we emit radiation. So we use like safety garments to protect the patients. And safety is our main concern when we're dealing with patients hands-on. This issue, it kind of touched me because I do have a family member that did commit suicide. And when the words were coming out of his mouth, I couldn't stop but thinking, about my family member as well. And, how I didn't want, this to happen to this patient as well. So I acted as quick as I could. I got the help that the patient needed, and happily everything turned out well.
Thank you so much, Geraldo. You have a personal story that helped your alert go off and saying, I need to intervene. I got to do what I can for this safety. And I hope that this story now is that inspiration for others who maybe don't have the personal experience, but to realize they have a way they can help and intervene and think of these things and considering safety for our patients. A really wonderful story. And thank you so much for sharing the personal details.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Geraldo. Safety is our first value listed out of our 6, always and for a reason, because it is so critical. So thank you, and best of luck as you go back to your work in the emergency department today. Andres, we'll come back to you. We're going to go back into our order here. We've got more great stories like this to share. We're going to go to Dr. Ariel Eliyahu from Mount Sinai Hospital, and we'll have our newest committee member, God's Favor Guillet, who's our new patient experience director from Mount Sinai Hospital, read this story. So welcome all.
Thank you, Steve. Happy Patient Experience Week, and congratulations to all of our honorees. You make this place wonderful. So Dr. Ariel Eliyahu was able to track down a lost jacket for a patient who was being discharged. Ordinary jacket. On it was the 94-year-old Korean War veteran's Purple Heart Medal given to him personally by the President of the United States. The patient was crushed that it had been separated from him after moving rooms. Dr. Eliyahu would not accept that the jacket was missing and retraced the patient's travel through the hospital, floor by floor, room by room. His tenacity was rewarded, and his patient was able to proudly wear his jacket, medal and all, home to continue his recovery. Dr. Eliyahu, I would like to add that my teams and I have had the pleasure of working alongside of you, and we are inspired by the way you give care and preserve our patients' dignity. Dr. Eliyahu, are there any other details you'd like to share about this story? And how is this a reflection of the empathy and commitment you show to all of your patients?
Thank you so much. It's really an honor being here and talking to you all. Those details are pretty much accurate to what happened. But I would say I'm proud and very fortunate to work in this hospitalist division that I work in with a group of amazing doctors who encourage this kind of behavior and making a positive impact on patients' lives. And I think this is all related to being in that atmosphere. I'm happy that I can do my part to promote that culture of caring, not just about patients' medical needs, but about who they are as people and their lives outside the hospital. Also, I do want to say that I couldn't have done any of this or got him his medals back without the help of the 8 center BA and nursing staff who remembered him and helped me find his room. So I think they should be commended for their help as well.
Thank you so much. A wonderful response. And, I think in this case, it is so clear that this was going to be an important and valuable, and we can all connect on why this was an emotional moment for this patient, and that you would, I love the commitment. It says you would not be denied. You were going to find this jacket for this person. It reminds us all of, sometimes it's not as obvious, something that's so critically important. And it takes what our other celebrants have said, really listening and reading that emotion and recognizing I need to step up for this person, just like you did, Dr. Eliyahu. Thank you so much. All right, God's Favor, we'll be back to you for another Mount Sinai Hospital story in a little while. But up next, we're going to the Mount Sinai Hospital's ambulatory celebrant. And we're going to call on Heidi Mendoza. Let's see if we can have Heidi come on up. And do we have Amy DeHaan Sheridan here? Did she make it?
Yes.
Amy, hi, how are you?
Hi, good day, Steve. Good day, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Today, I'm speaking on Heidi Mendoza, a school-based health center medical assistant who was recognized for her outstanding bravery and dedication. When a high school student was shot off school grounds and contacted the office for assistance, Heidi immediately contacted EMS, met the student in the plaza with the health center staff, and provided first aid until EMS arrived. And the team mentioned as well that Heidi was incredibly calming when she spoke with the student's mother about his condition. We thank Heidi for her commitment to this student's safety and the compassion showed to the family. Heidi, in an emergency situation like this, what skills and communication approaches kick in to guide your actions?
Hi, thank you for having me. It's an honor and very humbling. I just feel as a med tech and working in the school-based health clinic and working with adolescents, the students become your own, from 8 to 4. And then as a parent, I just went out and helped the student. And as a med tech, went out and helped the student. But then once EMS arrived and the student was taken care of, I think my parent instinct kicked in, and as a parent, I wanted to make sure that I would be notified.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heidi. I mean, I love that they really recognized the calming approach you took, that you had to change gears and recognize what was needed here, and your parent instinct kicked in, and that even when EMS arrived and was able to take over there, you looked for other ways to help. And that's always such a notable attribute. Like, where else can I help then? And found the parents and went to offer the support there. A really wonderful story in a tragic moment. And I hope everyone's doing okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Heidi, and thank you, Amy. Next up, I'm not sure if we've gotten them in here from Mount Sinai Morningside. I'm going to go to Tyler Geegan. We had Jason Laureano and Adrian Rivera were recognized as a pair. And here we go. We have Adrian on with us. So Tyler, let's hear this story about Adrian and Jason.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Yes, I am so excited to recognize Jason and Adrian from Morningside. As Jason and Adrian were rounding after hours on a non-clinical floor, they noticed a lone staff member who was preparing to leave her office. When Adrian asked if she had any trash that needed collected, he noticed that she began to lean on her desk. He asked if she was okay, and she responded by telling him that she could not breathe. She motioned for assistance and then grabbed her chest. Recognizing that they were isolated on an empty floor, far away from medical personnel and equipment, Adrian and Jason made the quick decision to roll that staff member in her office chair to an elevator that was just a short ride down to our emergency department. The staff member was immediately placed in the resuscitation bay, became unresponsive, and was ultimately intubated. Thankfully, after a brief stay in the ICU, the patient was transferred to a medical unit where she has done extremely well. We celebrate Jason and Adrian for their teamwork, their agility. If it were not for their quick thinking, this patient might not have gotten the help she needed in such a timely fashion. They are truly healthcare heroes. They are lifesavers, and we're so proud to recognize them today.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Incredibly fortunate you were there and were able to react so quickly. And I'm sure this has to be a story that you'll never forget, that it'll always ring out in your mind of how you came to aid a colleague. And I'd love to hear, Adrian, what kicks in for you in an emergency situation like this, that you were able to keep your composure and get this person to the care that they needed.
Thanks for having me. Just like for me, everything's about customer care, patient care. So we're just doing our job, walking around, checking, seeing things before we left. And we saw her in distress. So we just did the right thing, brought her downstairs to the emergency room, because that area would have been just, no one would have known where to go. It's a construction floor, construction area. So she would have been left without help. So.
Right. But and also an example of our I see someone just put agile, I think earlier in the chat, agility and creativity are our values, and they had to be on display here. He realized the issue and the concern, and this person wouldn't get the help there as needed, and to grab the office chair and said, this is our stretcher now, or wheelchair. We're using this. We're going to get this person to care. Incredible creativity and agility to get this person. And I'm glad to hear that they're doing well now.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Adrian. Tyler, I know we've got more stories to come from you later on this episode. We're going to go back to Andres, the Mount Sinai West story, recognized a security officer, Gordon Luncheon, and who I know is standing by. So let's bring up Officer Luncheon and have Andres read this story, which I believe is our last for now in the Stories of Excellence section.
All right, so Security Officer Gordon Luncheon was highly praised by the emergency department and hospital leadership during his recent workplace violence meeting. During an incident in the emergency department, Officer Luncheon was assaulted while protecting a nurse from being attacked by a patient. This officer's heroic actions saved an innocent nurse from being subjected to such a violent attack. He quickly stepped in front of the attacking patient, who began punching the officer repeatedly until other intervening staff were able to assist in stopping the assault. Officer Gordon Luncheon's actions are to be acknowledged and commended. He is a very special security officer in keeping with the traditions and expectations of Mount Sinai West. He serves as a positive example to our new officers and serves to reassure the unit whenever he is on duty, representing all of us in a very positive light.
Yeah, thank you, Andres. And I want to have our whole audience take a pause here and just remember to thank all of our security officers who every single day are not just the warm person greeting us as we come into the building, but they're there to protect our safety, and they will step in front of the danger like this for us. And just an appreciation to all of our security officers every single day who are looking out for us and for our patients. And Officer Luncheon, I'm so sorry you had this experience. And I just, along with this story, can you tell us about the personal commitment you make to the safety of our staff, of our colleagues, of our patients every single day?
The safety of the staff is a concern which is near and dear to my heart. On this particular day, the patient was in an area which was closely watched, because it was an area where we usually have intoxicated and people who are mentally challenged. I had my eyes on the patient throughout, and it is a matter of being at the right place at the right time and doing the right thing. I saw him approach the nurse, and I immediately stepped in, as was mentioned, and I was able to prevent him, but I did not expect what I got, because I was humbled. I was really humbled. A punch to the face, I went down, and a punch to the face is very, very humbling, or going down is humbling. But as was mentioned, other members of staff came to my rescue, and he was subdued. My takeaway from this, apart from everything else, is that as part of what we do, we were expected to put ourselves in harm's way to have the job done. It is something which I feel pleased and happy to have done. But the thing about doing all of this, can you imagine this being done on St. Valentine's Day? What a love gift. But it ended very well for me. I immediately was attended to by all those who were responsible for attending. The attendant at that time, Dr. Redletter, was at the stretcher side asking me if I was okay. The triage nurse, she personally, after having expeditiously triaged me, took me to the X-ray department herself. It was a busy day, so I was taken there myself. My supervisor was at my stretcher side in less than no time, and so was my department director, Richard Irizarry. So the love response for me was outstanding. And it is something that I would do again, and I'm happy to have been recognized, because this recognition not only recognizes me, but all others who put themselves in harm's way on a daily basis. Thank you so much for this recognition.
All right, I gotta see if I can talk without being choked up, but that was so beautiful and so well put. And to bring the love of Valentine's Day into it, to show, like, yes, this is a tragic and hard to imagine moment, but to see the love from your colleagues and the support that you received afterwards, and the love you have for protecting all of our staff, to put yourself into that harm's way. And it's just a remarkable response. And I can't thank you enough. And thank, like you said, all of the officers across Mount Sinai who are always committed to our safety of our patients and our colleagues. Thank you so much, Officer Luncheon. An absolute pleasure to meet you.
You're most welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, Andres. That wraps up the folks that are here for our Stories of Excellence section. We did have one more. They couldn't make it. A wonderful team from Mount Sinai, Brooklyn. Their story is in the program. Mickey Kalea and Mary Hall at Brooklyn, who helped a disoriented patient who could not think of family members except for a estranged son in St. Lucia, and they were able to put on their discovery and detective hats and find this son and track them down in St. Lucia to provide care and support for this patient in Brooklyn. So what a remarkable story. You can read more about that in our program. But next up, I'm going to go up. We have one in our appreciation by colleagues. These often come from star messages. And in this case, I think it comes from star after star after star. We're going to call on William Vega of Supply Chain, Mount Sinai Health System Supply Chain Leadership recognize Willie and Kathy, who I know also had done some work at 42nd Street. You two may have bumped into each other before. Kathy Gilbert, our committee member for marketing, is going to take this one.
Absolutely. I am familiar with Willie. And here is his story. For 42 years, take that in, Willie Vega has epitomized the meaning of exceptional customer service. Willie earns at a minimum 1-star employee recognition each and every month from appreciative Mount Sinai employees. Here are just a few of the comments we have heard regarding Willie's dedication to his work and to Mount Sinai. William Vega has outstanding work ethic. Anytime I experience any issue with vendors or require information to inquire inventory, William has served as my #1 reference. He goes above and beyond every time. William is very knowledgeable and professional in his communication and a great resource. The next one, Mr. Vega helps make sure our patients get what they need and also catches the mistakes we make in ordering, which could be disastrous. We appreciate his attentiveness, attention to detail, and the timely replies. He helps make our job on the clinical side a lot easier. Thank you, Mr. Vega. The common theme here is Willie's willingness to go above and beyond the call of duty. Willie has been a shining star throughout his 40+ years with Mount Sinai, and his work has never wavered. Willie, thank you for everything you do for your colleagues and ultimately our patients.
Thank you, Kathy. Willie, I gotta say, I see a go dad in the chat too. So I know your family is proudly here watching. I've had the pleasure of knowing Willie for about 17 or so years when he hit his 25th anniversary and got to meet him and know him so better. Always such a wonderful person to bump into out at 42nd Street. Willie, star after star after star keeps coming in for you. Can you tell us about the service you provide every single day that is so valued and appreciated by leaders who are sending these stars in for you?
Well, first of all, I have to be honored and privileged for this honor. But in regards to what the supply chain department is doing is to provide all the supplies that the court departments need to serve our patients. And for me, it's very important to make sure that all the departments have what they need to give the best care to our patients. And I kind of like with this title, Beyond the Badge, because I feel that I go beyond the call of duty, and that's just standard for me. Never shortchange anybody. Go beyond the call of duty. Don't expect anything, and everything will pan its way out. It'll work out. And I walk with a good heart and run with success. And that's the goal. Provide, and it would serve the patients what they need.
Thank you, Willie. And, you make that commitment to go above and beyond every single day, clearly, because these stars keep coming in. And that's exactly what that program is for, is when you notice someone go out of their way for you to go above and beyond, and you want to thank a colleague to use that program, and you're just, they're rolling in them, and it stars every day. And to have made that commitment and continue that excellence for each other and for your colleagues, and that support with the end mind being excellent patient care and supporting our patients for 42 years is stand up and applaud commendable. And I see your wife and your children are here in the audience cheering you on.
Right. But also I got to say that this job is not done by just me alone. I have a supply chain family that we all, provide the care for all our patients and all the departments. So we all do this together. So they all deserve also a reward as well.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much, Willie. And another note on why you're so excellent, giving the credit to your team and your colleagues who we do know are so spectacular in supply chain. We thank them every day.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Willie. We're so glad we got to celebrate you today.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. And for more stories like this in the program, there were a couple others who couldn't make it. Excellent story from Maria Enia, a diet clerk at Mount Sinai, Queens, was appreciated by emergency department leadership and radiation oncology leadership, recognized Mount Sinai Hospital's faculty practice billing supervisor, Zarina Shmelev. And I gotta say, Kathy, Maria and Zarina were both in your stories of excellence that you can find on Mount Sinai Daily for write-ups.
Yeah, actually, I think Maria is coming up, but Zarina was a few weeks ago. So I'll put in a plug for Stories of Excellence. They can be found under Today at Mount Sinai.
Absolutely. I saw Maria as it came out. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, there's Maria. Excellent. So they couldn't be here today working with patients. Those stories are there, and you can find them in the Stories of Excellence category. But we're going to go on. I'm going to keep you, Kathy, because Employee Spotlight, we're going to start with you. We had Hassani Branford from the Clinical Command Center. Hi, Hassani. And we'll start with this story, recognized by Clinical Command Center leadership.
Yeah, this is a terrific story. EMT Hassani Branford has been instrumental in promoting the new ET3 program, which stands for Emergency Triage, Treat and Transport. This patient-centered program is designed to provide patients with options for emergency care when they call 911 for an ambulance, such as offering telehealth in the field or transportation to an urgent care center instead of a hospital emergency department. Hassani took it upon himself to become the Mount Sinai ET3 champion, quickly embracing the program, attending ET3 training, and promoting the positive benefits to his colleagues and patients. He has the distinction of completing the first ET3 encounter in New York City, holds the record for the most ET3 encounters at Mount Sinai, and has become the leader in successful ET3 encounters throughout the region. His efforts in providing patients with the most appropriate emergency service at the right time and place show his commitment to patient advocacy and to the Mount Sinai core values.
Thank you, Kathy. It's so right on line with Mount Sinai, wanting to be the first, wanting to be the ones brave enough to take that leap and be that forward-thinking leadership. So Hassani, we could talk about the program, what you love about it, but really I'm seeing this as you've been an EMT at Mount Sinai for 15 years, that you have this commitment to the patients. What led you to embrace this program that you knew would benefit your patients?
Well, the ET3 program I see is a nice change from EMS, because before our only option was to take people to the hospital. And I see the ET3 program especially benefits our elderly patients that sometimes aren't sure what to do, and we can get them a doctor right there to probably refill a prescription, or if it's something minor, refer them to urgent care, because they're also very concerned, since we're in a post-COVID state, about going to the hospital and being exposed to things and long wait times. So if we can keep someone home and have the doctor talk to them there in a 30-40 minute interaction and solve their problem there, or refer them to urgent care, it's better for the patient. And sometimes it alleviates the ER staff that is sometimes just so overwhelmed by people coming there. So I see ET3 is a great way to alleviate the emergency room staff from the stress they're under every day, day in and day out. And it's also great for the patients that would have those minor illnesses or injuries to be able to stay home, or just have a family member pick up a script, other than them going to the emergency room, spending a few hours there, and they can stay in the comforts of their own home.
It's wonderful. And then we have this spotlight section. This last category is spotlight, to spotlight new programs like this, specific work that's being done, and share that and bring attention to it to others around our system. It's incredible work. And we applaud you for being a pioneer who took it on early and you'll have that forever, the first in New York City to handle that first call and to drive it.
Yeah, that was, I didn't think I'd be the first one, but it's nice. And, you're going kind of EMS history as the first one to do something is pretty big.
Yeah, it's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Hassani. It's great chatting with you. And thank you for being that pioneer for Mount Sinai and leading the program.
Thanks for the recognition. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Kathy. I'm going to go back to Tyler, who's standing by with our next guest, Dr. Ernata Doko from Pharmacy Leadership. This is for the entire system. I got to recognize someone, and they chose Dr. Doko from Mount Sinai Morningside. So welcome, and let's share this story.
Yes, thanks, Steve. Again, we're so excited to recognize Ernata, who consistently delivers superlative performance to ensure that all patients receive first-class service. Her strong work ethic was further exemplified when additional chemo patients were transferred to Morningside to continue treatment during the New York State Nurses Association strike. Ernata demonstrated great agility during this time, ensuring that we had adequate medications available to provide conscientious and compassionate care to all of our patients. Ernata is self-motivated to achieve the highest results and will not allow any obstacles to prevent the completion of assignments. She exceeded all expectations, demonstrating the ability to prioritize, anticipate problems before they occur, seek solutions, all while maintaining a high level of interest and engagement to deliver exceptional care at every given opportunity.
All right, thank you so much. And this, this story speaks to your commitment to ensure that no matter the situation, that you're going to step up to ensure that your patients receive the best care possible. And I'd just love to turn to you to see if you can tell us more about that personal commitment you make to the care of your patients every day.
Well, I mean, when I took my oath as a pharmacist, I took an oath to always provide the best service. And I can't do that without my pharmacy team, my managers who are not managers, but they're leaders, they're mentors. They make me a better pharmacist and a better person. My coworkers who provide the best teamwork, and an amazing oncology team of doctors and nurses who are there for the patients. And we were able during that time to coordinate everything, go the extra mile to make sure we had all the medications and because these patients are in a vulnerable state. So we want to make sure that during that transition from one hospital to another, they are not affected and they are happy with their care. And my job as a pharmacist doesn't end when I clock out. Like, for example, when I went home yesterday, I was on the D train and I hopped in and there was a woman unconscious and nobody was doing anything and everybody was just sitting, and she had her partner there, and I asked him, is she breathing? And he's like, her breathing is shallow. And I was like, what did she take? What did she take? And he wouldn't tell me. So I asked anybody if they had Narcan, and unfortunately somebody did. I administered a dose of Narcan. She didn't respond. Waited 2 minutes, administered another dose of Narcan, and she abruptly woke up, which I expected, and upset with the effects of Narcan. But if nobody had, helped her, she would have gone into respiratory depression and worse. So as a pharmacist, my job never ends. My oath is to help anybody, whether it be at Mount Sinai or outside in the community. I'm here to provide a service to everybody, but I'm also very happy that I work at Mount Sinai because the leadership here just encourages me, and I do the best because I work in an area that fosters that kind of environment.
Yeah, and they must be standing right nearby watching you. I see you looking up at the proud team who's there cheering for you locally. Right, there's wonderful. And this is got to have to be the first time. You might be a back-to-back celebrant for the first time ever with this story. I'm sure is going to make the rounds.
I know. Yeah, they announced it. They're like, oh, it's crazy. And it's just important that you stay alert no matter where the situation. Yeah, there she is, my other staff. You just stay alert as a healthcare professional. Like, you can always help somebody, and our job never ends, and it's important just to know that.
Really, really, really wonderful. And thank you so much for your constant vigilance and looking for those in need and finding every way you can support.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Doko. And Tyler, I'm going to stick with you. I know Annette Lopez is standing by. We're excited to honor Annette with our next story. She was recognized by ambulatory leadership at Mount Sinai Morningside. Welcome, Annette. And let's hear this story.
Awesome. Okay, so medical assistant Annette Lopez of Mount Sinai Doctors Medicine Multi-Specialty Practice always searches for solutions and innovative ways to improve the practice's clinical operations and the experiences of our patients. Annette noticed the nurse practitioners and physician assistants were the primary team members who were placing continuous glucose monitors on our patients, and recognized that this workflow was a little bit strenuous on our providers. So to assist the providers and to improve patient outcomes, Annette took it upon herself to become trained on how to properly place the continuous glucose monitors on our patients, which in turn helped her MA colleagues feel less intimidated with learning the process as well. Annette leads the MA team by example and motivates everyone around her to strive to be better than they were yesterday. We're so fortunate to have Annette as part of our ambulatory team and applaud her creativity, her empathy, and the commitment that she spreads throughout the practice.
Thank you, Tyler. And Annette, I know your manager was so proud, getting excited to have you be honored here today. Clearly, stepping up as a leader on your team to be similar to one of the earlier stories of Asani being that pioneer, say, let me take this on and learn it and show people we can do this. I'd love to turn it to you to talk about your commitment to these proactive process improvement efforts like this to improve things on your practice.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words. Usually when I come to work, I want to make sure that everyone's lives around me is made easier, which includes anyone from the patients, the doctors, front desk team, the medical assistant team at ACC 6. I also like a challenge. I like learning things from day-to-day issues. That way, if something similar comes up again, I like to feel prepared on how to resolve it. With this particular project, which was the CGM placement, I was not the first medical assistant to learn. And in fact, it was my peer, Tanya Camacho, who showed me how to do this. But I wanted to be the next person to learn so that I would be able to assist. I also didn't want to leave the burden just to one person when it comes to the doctors, asking, for assistance to place it on a patient. Also, the patient is not left waiting. Usually, they're waiting a long time. So, I contribute by answering any questions they have. And yeah, I just, I give it up to my team. And yeah, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful and humbled.
Well, it's wonderful, Annette, and just showing your constant eyes on the patient experience and saying, what is there a way we can improve this? I care about my patients. I care about my colleagues. Is there always looking for something to improve it and then acting on it, which is why you're being recognized here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Annette. You have, I believe Bridget Karp was not able to join us just yet. I know they're hosting at Mount Sinai South Nassau some patient experience events right now. So we're going to move on to someone who's here. We have David Thomas, who was recognized along with Milton McFarquhar, who I don't believe is here, but David is here. Mount Sinai Health System Laboratory Leadership recognized David and Milton. So we'll have God's favor come on back for this story. Hey, David.
Thank you. Congratulations again to all of our honorees. And, our values of teamwork and safety are being just displayed so wonderfully here. So Milton McFarquhar and David Sean Thomas, laboratory extensioning associates, are both star employees of our central processing and extensioning section. They are always eager to do more and constantly ask for additional duties, working the 4 to 12 midnight shift in the receiving area where specimens from the entire health system are received. In addition to receiving these specimens, they also man the pneumatic tube station and distribution of specimens to various departments. They are both individually strong employees, and when they work together, their strength is multiplied.
Thank you so much. And, so David, Milton's not here to join you, but I love that the idea that your strength is multiplied when you're working together. And I wonder if you could talk about, what does that mean? Do you feel it? Do you see that as a team, you're getting so much more accomplished? And tell us about you guys as a pair.
So first of all, thank you guys for having me here today. I'm very grateful. And yes, individually we are strong, but as a team, it's something different. The things that there's nothing that can't be done. When it comes to patient care is 100%. That's the number one thing. So every minute of the day that you're there, there's always something that has to do with taking care of either running the specimen, it's either BIs, orders, whatever it is that you can do, you should. And I love the fact that working with my colleagues, that I know that we make a difference with every shift that we're in. It's not just, this is not a job where you just come in and you're a number in the system. Like, it feels more like a family thing, a teamwork kind of thing, where you guys are making that kind of difference and changing someone's life, saving someone's life, anything. This is an amazing opportunity, and I'm very happy that Mount Sinai gave me that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. That's what I'm trying to get across. I really do.
Really wonderful. So not only is the teamwork multiplied, but when I hear someone speak where they really connect their work to their heart and that purpose and recognizing the patients and wanting to do anything, that multiplies the impact of the work too, because it just naturally comes out in what you're doing every day.
It's a serious duty.
Absolutely.
It's a responsibility that I feel like I have to uphold, that we all have to uphold, and it's something that we're all proud of. So.
Really well said. Thank you, David. We're proud to be able to hear your comments, and thank you for all you do, and thank Milton for us too, all you do in the Mount Sinai Health System laboratories.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, God's favor. I'm going to quickly, since we don't have her story in the program, I want to quickly read about Bridget Karp. She is from Mount Sinai South Nassau. In case she's listening in our attendee area, they are having some of their own patient experience events, but Bridget was recognized for consistently receiving praise from patients and families. Her compassionate, caring, and kind patient-centered care leaves a lasting impression that truly impacts her patients. Her service is truly one of a kind, and they say that if they granted every patient who requested her, she'd be seeing pretty much every patient on the unit. And they also claimed her exceptional teamwork, citing a situation where they needed to have care for someone while she was off and came in for 5 hours of infusion when they needed a nurse that could administer chemo. So they thanked her for that. So thank you, Bridget. I know they're having excellent patient experience events at Mount Sinai South Nassau, and I know those patient experience events are happening all over the system. Take part in them. They're wonderful ways to reconnect and remind ourselves, like all of our celebrants did here today, connecting to that ultimate who's in the end, and that is our patients, and in many cases, each other as well in our care for patients. Just wonderful comments by our honorees, and I think it's clear as to why they were recognized by our senior leadership on the System Daily Huddle.